Hi guys, how you going? I'm going to give you the explanation of how to do the Learning to Lead presentation. So for this presentation you'll need some equipment. You'll need lollies, whiteboard markers, bouncy ball, Uno cards, foam noodles, drawing cards, blindfolds, 14 wooden blocks, and wrestling helmets for one of the activities. Now, on the piece of paper behind me here are the different activities that students have. So what you do at the start is you get your whiteboard set up, get all your equipment set out, and you write these activities up on the board. Seagull management, empathy, take risks, seek, smart not hard, and I always identify this as leaving it to last, is show initiative. So these are the activities that the students will be able to do, and I'll show you how you let them choose. So what I always start with is having a lolly hidden in my hand or in my pocket or somewhere, and I say, "G'day everyone, how's everyone doing today?" And somebody will always say hello first, and I go, "Oh, someone over there said hello first, who was it?" And then I work through, "Oh yeah, it was you. What's your name? Jim? Jim, everyone, I want you to look at Jim. Can we give Jim a round of applause? Because Jim is a leader. He's a winner. We like Jim. Jim's great." And you just be friendly and talk about Jim. And you say, "Jim got in first. He was happy to stand out and be the first one to say hello. We all want to be like Jim today. He's a leader. And to thank Jim, I'm going to give him a lolly." There you go, Jim. There's your lolly. So we've got everyone on side. It's all looking good. Everyone's kind of realising this is going to be a bit fun and a bit relaxed. Then what I do is I talk to the audience and ask them, today's presentation, it's about leadership. Your school wants you to be good quality leaders, but we need to know what that means. Tell me what leadership means. Get them all to banter and give you information back, and then give your own spin on what you think leadership means. You tell that back to the students. Then what we're going to do is we're going to start with an opening activity where we're going to say, look, we're going to do little activities today that help you to understand the idea of leadership and what leadership means. Now this activity is very simple, it's very fun. What you say to the audience is, okay, everyone, I want you to work with me here. I want you to take your right index finger and hold it in the air. Now what I want you to do is hold up your right foot. Now you might not be able to see this, but I'm holding up my right foot. Everyone will be sitting down. And say, I want you to do clockwise circles with your right foot. They start doing clockwise circles with their right foot, and then ask them, say, can you draw a number 6 with your finger? Now when you do the number 6, what it does is your brain gets all confused and your foot starts changing direction and goes in the other direction. It starts going anti-clockwise. Then you say something like, and everyone will laugh and giggle and they'll realise, oh, that's really hard, and they'll try and do it again and it'll all be a bit crazy. And you say, alright, who could do that the first time without changing their foot circles? And a couple of people will put their hand up. But you say, look, that's right, it's very hard. It's because when we learn to draw the number 6, most of us learn to start from the top and go around. What I want you to do this time is try and, same again, right index finger in the air, do clockwise circles with your right foot, and I want you to draw the number 6, but draw it from the inside first. And you'll notice that your foot doesn't change direction. That's the idea of today's presentation. We're going to look at little strategies, little simple ways of doing things slightly differently that are going to make it much easier for you to be an effective leader. Then you say to the group something like, but look, you guys are the leaders, I'm not in control today, you get to pick what we do. Here's all of our activities. We've got seagull management, empathy, take risks, seek, smart not hard, and at the end we're going to do this one called show initiative. So it's up to you, which one do you want? Let the audience yell out and they'll pick. You can interpret that any way that you like, and start with whatever activity the group picks. Now, what I'd suggest, if there's more than one of you doing the presentation, maybe pick different ones. So one of you can do the top 3 and the other one can do the bottom 3, or however you want to split it up and work it out that way. But we'll go through the different activities in order. Now, let's start with seagull management. The idea of seagull management is showing that if you're going to be a good leader, you've got to give clear directions. So, what I'll say is something like, I need a volunteer from the audience. Can I get a volunteer to come out? Someone comes out and say, alright Jim, Jim's helping out a lot today. What I want you to do, Jim, is I want you to take the wooden blocks and I want you to build a tower for me. Can you do that, Jim? Jim says yes. Alright, Jim, build the tower. Then you say, oh look, Jim, I've actually got to go. I've got to make a phone call. Apparently my dog's dead, so I'm out of here. You pretend to leave. You leave and walk away. And while you're gone, you're leaving Jim to it. Jim is there. He's building the tower. Now he'll probably build a single tower, or actually he'll probably build like a pyramid. So a wide base, a couple of bricks, and then a brick on top. When you can see that Jim's finished, you come back in and you're going to blast Jim. Jim, what are you doing? What do you call it? You call this a tower? That's not what I wanted. What I wanted was a single tower, 14 blocks, one block on top of the other. I'm not happy, Jim. I need you to do it again. Got to go make another phone call. Apparently my dog's getting better. And then you walk off and you leave and you go off and pretend to leave again. Now, whatever tower Jim built is going to be wrong. If he builds a single tower, one block on top of the other, you say, Jim, I wanted you to build a tower with a wide base that was stable. If he builds that, you say, Jim, what I wanted you to do was build a single tower, one block on top of the other. So whatever Jim's done is wrong. You yell at him and then you leave. You go and then Jim will build the tower again. You come back and this time it's different. Jim, now look at that, it's an awesome tower. Round of applause for Jim, everybody. Everybody claps, it's all good. Jim's happy and he's built a great tower. And then you ask the audience. So look, this interaction that Jim and I had, imagine if I was his boss and Jim was a worker, has this worked out very well? And ask the audience, get lots of ideas, what went wrong, what you could have done different, what I could have done different, what Jim could have done different. What's interesting about this activity is everybody pretty much is going to lay the blame on me. I didn't tell him what to do. I didn't show him the right way. I didn't help him out. It's all me, it's all my fault. So then I say something like, so what you're saying is that Jim is a victim. He's got no power at all. He had no say in how this all worked out. And then the audience, you'll see them, they start thinking, they'll go, oh, I should have asked some questions. And you're like, yeah, that's it. You give out some lollies and it's all good. So that's the thing. So you get to the idea where I should have given better instructions, but Jim should have stopped me and said, look, you know, I need you to tell me what to do. I don't really know how to build this tower. He should have asked some questions and it's all good. Ask people for examples of that. Everyone's got examples of where their mum told them, clean your room. And then she went in and it's not cleaned enough, do it again. You know, you're at work, the boss is saying, sweep the floor, and you sweep the floor, and he's like, not that floor, this floor over here. And it's the same kind of thing. So you talk about this idea. Then once it's all done, you explain seagull management. Now the analogy seagull management is, what does a seagull do? You use that as your analogy and you say that I'm the seagull manager. What I did is I squawked out some orders to Jim and then I flew off. I swooped back in, I crapped all over Jim and then I flew off again. That's what a seagull does, and that's seagull management. The idea is getting the audience to realise that that's very bad management. You don't manage people that way. If you're a leader and you're working with others, give out good directions, clear directions, make sure they understand what it is you expect of them, let them ask some questions. If you're in that position, you ask questions and try and get the information going. And you bring in that seagull analogy. Now the follow-on to that is, now that Jim's finished with his tower, give him a lolly, round of applause, it's all good. You now need 4 or 6 volunteers to come up out the front. 6 is usually pretty good. When you get your volunteers up, you're going to need your whiteboard, nice big whiteboard clear. You're going to need whiteboard markers, 3 ideally, and you're going to need to pick 3 picture cards. 3 of the 6 volunteers you bring up are going to be drawers, and 3 are going to be the leaders. So you give your 3 drawers a whiteboard marker and ask them to stand on one side. You give your 3 leaders a picture card and ask them to stand on the other side. But tell your leaders, keep the cards close to their chest, because if they lose focus, they'll sit here and just hold the cards up and the other people will see. So it's really important the drawers don't see the cards. Now you bring up the first pair. Generally I start with the envelope. So there's the envelope card. The leader that's got the envelope card, get them to stand directly in front of the whiteboard, but maybe about 3 or 4 metres away. and then have the student with the whiteboard marker stand right at the whiteboard. So basically the student at the whiteboard has got their back to the other person. Because the idea here is that the leader, the drawer can't see the leader. So you can't say draw a line. There's no physical gestures in it, it's all verbal. So the drawer is here at the whiteboard, ready to go, and the leader is behind giving directions. So the leader will have to say things like draw a box, draw a line, draw a triangle, give directions to the student. Now, let it play out, let it go for a little while and just see how it goes. Generally, the leader won't do it very well. They'll say something like, draw a line. The student will draw a line, but they'll draw it this way, and what the leader meant was to draw it that way. Let them go a few times, let them get a bit frustrated, and then say to them, look, the drawer is trying to do their best, but the instructions are not giving them the right information. You need to give them the right information. You might even explain things like, sometimes the leader will say, draw a line. The drawer does that, but what the leader meant was that. And you say to the audience, did the drawer do what they were told to do? And often the audience will say, oh yeah, well they said draw a line and you drew a line, it's all good. So it's not the drawer that's the problem, it's the instructions that need clarifying. So help the person through, get them to clarify, and then when the drawer has drawn the picture, the envelope, get the drawer to turn around, show the picture, big claps, round of applause, and that's when you get some feedback from the audience and say, what could the leader have done to improve the communication, and get ideas. Then when the next leader and drawer pair comes up, I usually use the arrows. And what you say to that leader is, you've watched the previous person, try and learn from that. Remember what they did well, and see if you can incorporate those things into your directions. You'll generally find that they do much better because they've actually picked up the idea from the previous person. Same thing, drawer draws. The leader gives verbal instructions that the drawer can't see, or the picture they can't see, and it's all good when they get the picture. Claps, lollies, and it's all good. Okay. Then finally, finish on this picture that's like a circle with a chimney and a sort of a half cylinder or a rectangle with curved ends. This is the hardest one, that's why we leave it to the end. So the leader that goes last has generally had two lots of opportunities to learn from the previous person, and should have the most ability to do that. If they get really stuck, give them some suggestions, or ask the audience, say, has anyone got some suggestions of what directions they could use to draw this picture, and work through that process. At the end of it, when you've got all your 6 pictures and you've given feedback about communication and the directions and all, and the clarity, big claps and cheers and lots of lollies, so that's all good. Now, what you might have to do, if they're really not getting it, is say to things, look, you have to give very clear directions, such as put your pen on the whiteboard. Okay. That is now the top left-hand corner. Draw a horizontal line 10 centimeters to your right. Stop, okay? Draw a line down and keep drawing until I say stop. Stop. So sometimes you need to give them coaching on how specific the directions have to be. Okay, so that's seagull management. The tower, the yelling, the explaining of seagulls, we need to be very clear with our management, and then the drawing exercise. The next one we've got is empathy. Now, I asked the group to explain what empathy is. What does empathy mean? Get some answers, give out lollies for part correct answers. You can use your own definition. The definition I use is that it's where you can understand and feel what somebody else is feeling, but without that person telling you what they're feeling. So if they look sad, you can tell. If they look happy, you can tell. If there's something not right with that person, you get a vibe, you get that feeling that there's something going on, and you can put yourself in the position or the shoes of that person. Now, the activity we do with empathy is get 2 volunteers out, similar to the drawing exercise, but this time the person at the whiteboard is actually facing forward and they're looking at each other. The leader is standing at the other side looking at the other participant, so they're facing each other. The whiteboard is behind, so I can't see what's on the whiteboard. And what you do is come and write 2 or 3 words on the whiteboard. And the idea is the leader has to get into the mind. That's where the empathy part comes in, is by getting into the mind of the other person, and they have to get them to say those words in order, but without using the words themselves. Normally what I do is start with an easy one, like a word like purple bucket. So you write purple bucket there and the leader will say, okay, I need you to say a colour for me. And I'll go blue, red, green. And go, it's the Fremantle Dockers colour, purple. Yeah, and they'll go, yep, that's it. Okay, and they go, alright, I've got purple. And then they'll say, what do you carry water in? And I'll go, a cup. Something bigger. A bucket. Okay, put the two together. Purple bucket. Great, that's good. Okay, that's easy. Get them to swap. But this time, you need to give the second person a much harder phrase. Purple bucket are very clearly explained in easy concepts. You want to give the second person something that's much harder to explain. A phrase like maximum exposure, sigh when frustrated, or something like that. Two words that really they're not tangible. They're hard. You can't put your fingers on the different words. So it could be exhausted orangutan. It could be emotionally drained. Those sorts of words. You choose whatever words that you like. You write those on the back, same thing, go through that process. Lots of lollies, lots of claps, and it's all good. And you tie it in by saying, a good leader needs to have emotional intelligence, they need empathy. When you're working with others, you need to be able to feel what the other person's feeling so that you can work effectively with that person. Next is take risks. This activity is heaps of fun. What you need to do for this particular activity is first of all ask for 5 volunteers. Don't tell them what it's for, just tell them that there's going to be 5 volunteers come up. Get your 5 volunteers up, have a bit of a banter with them. How you guys feeling today? You glad you came up here? Good, good, good. And then what you do is you take your Uno cards. Have a table set up, so get just a plain table in front of the 5 volunteers, and you're going to put 5 Uno cards. Make sure they're all mixed up a little bit, which they all are. 5 Uno cards down in front of them. Now make sure they can't see the colours. You need the Uno, the blank Uno pointing upwards. So they have no idea what the colours are. In this set, all the wild cards and everything have been removed, so it's just the 4 colours. Red, green, blue or yellow are the 4 colours. So the 5 people standing there, there's 5 Uno cards in front of them. They don't know what colour it is. What you say to the first person, how you going, what's your name? Mary, how are you today, Mary? Good, good, good. How you feeling, Mary? Good? Alright. So Mary, look, you've been brave, you've taken a risk. Before that you need to explain what the idea of risk means. Get the audience again to give some ideas and banter, throw some lollies out there, it's all good. I always tell a story about a tree. I like to imagine there's a tree with a branch, and at the end of the branch is the most delicious fruit that you can imagine. This fruit is a cross between steak and mango, it's so delicious. And ask the audience, say, look, I want you to imagine that you're standing on the V, on the neck there, the V, where the branch and the tree join, and you're holding onto the tree. But you really want that fruit, you really want to get it. Then ask the audience, what choices are you presented with? The audience, they might not quite get what you're getting at initially, and you give them a few ideas, but basically the 2 choices, stay holding the tree, or go out and try and get the fruit. And that's when I explain to them, say, look, if you wanted to, you can keep holding the tree. What definitely won't happen if you stay holding the tree? And of course the answer is you definitely won't fall. You're holding on nice and tight, you're safe and secure, nothing is going to go wrong. But what also is definitely going to happen is you're definitely not going to get that fruit. The alternative is you can walk along the branch and you can have a go at getting the fruit. You say it again, what could happen? Well, what could happen is you could get the fruit. The other thing, of course, that could happen is you fall off and you break your leg. So if you take it safe, less goes wrong. There's less chance that anything will go wrong, but you don't get the rewards. You're definitely not going to get the good stuff that comes with taking a risk. If you go out and take a risk, there's a chance you'll get what you want. There's also a chance that you're going to crash and burn and things aren't going to work out as well. What's key with the definition of what is a risk? A risk is where you don't know the outcome until you do it. So until you go for that fruit, you don't know. While you're holding onto the tree, you're not sure if you're going to fall off or not. It's not until you start going for it That's when you realise whether you're going to fall off or not. So that's what risk is all about, having a go and not knowing how it's going to turn out. In terms of leadership, we say that, ask the audience, say, look, are leaders generally more willing to take risk or less willing to take risk? And they'll generally get it. They'll understand that leaders take risks. We need leaders. We need people to take risks on our behalf. People who put themselves out there and take those risks that other people don't want to take. That's a key aspect of leadership. Alright, you get your 5 volunteers up. You got them there, you got your 5 Uno cards this way up so they can't see the colours. You say to the first person, Mary, you say, Mary, how you doing? I want to give you a choice. You've been brave and you've volunteered, Mary. You've come up here. Look, I just want to give you a lolly and sit down. Do you want to just take this lolly and sit down, Mary? Now what's happening here is Mary's looking at the cards and she's going, hang on, there's something more going on here. You haven't said anything about the cards, you haven't mentioned anything. She's just seen that the cards are out there. She's seen you put them out, so she knows the cards are there, and you give her the choice, taking the lolly and sitting down. Most people won't take that choice. Occasionally they will, but very, very rarely. They generally say, oh, no, I think I'm okay. And they'll start to, say, look, okay, Mary, I'll tell you what, I'll make you a deal. If you want, you can just take this lolly and sit down. Or you can try and guess the colour of the Uno card in front of you. If you get that right, Mary, you get 4 lollies. And then everyone in the audience go, oh, yeah, and they get all excited and it's all good. And you say, what do you want to do, Mary? Do you want to take this guaranteed lolly? No risk at all, it's definitely yours and sit down? Or do you want to take a risk and have a go at guessing the Uno card? 99.9 times out of 100, Mary's going to have a go at guessing. She's going to try it out. And she'll say, alright, I'll guess. And you say, okay, Mary, what colour is it? Mary's going to guess the 4 colours, red, blue, green or yellow. She's got a 1 in 4 chance of getting it right. Mary guesses. Now what you do to the audience, you don't just pick it up, you say to the audience, okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold up Mary's card, and if it's the colour she said, I want everyone to clap and cheer and go, woohoo! But if it's not the colour that Mary wants, I want everyone to go, ooh, like that. Are you ready, Mary? What colour is it? Mary says green, and you go, Mary, let's find out what colour it is. Mary, your colour is... And it's yellow, and you go like this to the audience, and everyone will go, ooh, oh, Mary, no, it's yellow, you don't get your 4 lollies. Oh well, you took a risk, and it didn't pay off this time. However, Mary, I'm a nice guy. I want to give you another chance of getting 4 lollies. Do you want another chance to get 4 lollies? Mary will usually say yes. Say, alright, Mary, here's the deal. I've got this packet of Uno cards. This time, I'm going to take the card off the top. If you can guess the colour of this card, you get your 4 lollies back. If you get it wrong, you have to do 5 push-ups. What do you reckon, Mary? Do you want to take the risk, guess the colour, get it right, 4 lollies, get it wrong, 5 push-ups. What do you reckon? Let Mary choose. If she says yes, I'll guess, make her commit. Say, look, will you definitely do the 5 push-ups if you get it wrong? And she says yes, go, okay, what colour is it? Mary says green, well, let's say Mary says blue, and you hold it up, and it's blue, and everyone goes, woohoo! You give Mary her 4 lollies. If it's green, she says blue and it's green, or one of the other colours, sorry Mary, 5 push-ups, and she has to get down on the floor and give you 5 push-ups. Girls often want to negotiate and do the ones on their knees, of course that's fine, or they want to do sit-ups or some other thing, it's all fine. The point is that they took a risk, it didn't pay off, and they had to do the push-ups or whatever it is, or get the reward and get the lollies. Then you go through the 5 people and you do the same thing. Guess the one on the table, get it right, 4 lollies, sit down. Say, do you want 1 lolly and just sit down? Do you want to guess the one on the table? See if they get it right, 4 lollies, and they sit down and it's all good. If they get it wrong, they get the second choice to pick off the pack, get that right, 4 lollies, get it wrong, 5 push-ups. And what I often explain also is as I'm going along, I say, look, you guys, it's a bit tricky because you've seen what happens before. So sometimes the first 3 people will do 5 push-ups, and then the 4th person's thinking, oh, I don't want to do 5 push-ups, and it starts playing on their mind. Well, the first 3 get 4 lollies, and they're like, cool, this is easy, I'll do this. And so yeah, it's all variable and it all changes as you go through. At the end, lots of claps, lots of cheers, and explain again. To be good leaders, you've got to take risks. It's all good. Okay. The next activity is seek. And the reason it's the word seek is because it's the idea of seeking help. As a leader, you can't do everything on your own. Good leaders get help. They get other people to give them a hand. We're going to use our blocks again for this one. What you're going to do with this one is you're going to give clear instructions and say, okay, get a volunteer up. Guys are usually better than girls, but girls work out well for this activity too. And you say to them, okay, what I want you to do is I want you to build me a tower. I want one block on top of the other, and I want the tower to be 14 blocks high. Can you do it? And they say yes, and they start building it. Then what you do is you offer to help. You say, oh look, can I give you a hand? Here, let me put this block on the top. And as you put it on the top, you kick the tower and you knock it down. And you really apologise. Oh, I'm so sorry, I didn't mean to do it. Oh, it was an accident. I can't believe that just happened. Come on, let's build the tower. Let's get this thing done. And they start to build the tower, you offer to help again, and then you kick the tower over. Or you knock it over with your hand, or anything you need to knock the tower down. This process repeats and repeats, and you keep knocking it down, until eventually they have to start acting. You'll get different responses from people. Some students will just try and do it faster and harder, and you just knock it down faster, okay? So everything they do as an individual, you've got to make sure it doesn't work, okay? It's not a solution on your own, just doesn't work. That tower just keeps knocking down. If they really don't kind of get it, start throwing it to the audience. Audience, this person is, how are they feeling? And you identify that they're feeling frustrated and angry and all that sort of stuff. And you say, look, because they're in the middle of the moment, sometimes we get a bit of tunnel vision. And it's hard to actually see a solution to this sort of a problem. You guys are on the outside and you're watching. What do you see as being the solution? And get different ideas. And the idea you're trying to guide them, don't tell them to do it, but you want them to come to their own realisation, oh, hang on, if I get a helper, maybe then. And sometimes that'll come from the audience. A couple of people jump up from the audience and try and help. Maybe the student will ask a couple of friends to come up and help. And the idea is that the helpers will probably hold you back because you try and you keep knocking it down and you keep kicking it over until those helpers manage to hold you back, and then the person builds the tower and then the audience will go crazy and it's all claps and cheers and happy and it's all really good. And that's when you explain, look, well done, you built the tower, great job, but I've got to ask the question, were you able to build the tower on your own? And of course the answer is no. You say, what made you be able to build a tower? Getting help from others. And you say, look, that's really important. There's an old saying, if you want something done properly, do it yourself. That is not the right way for leaders to think. Leaders build teams, they nurture relationships with other people. They get people on side and get people to help and cooperate. And they cooperate with other people and explain those sorts of aims. So, seeks lots of fun. Bit frustrating for the person, but you give them a lolly and you give them a big clap and you tell them they did a great job and it's all good afterwards. Alright, this last activity, smart not hard, heaps of fun. You get 2 volunteers up, okay? To start with, try and get 2 guys or 2 girls, get them roughly about the same physical size as each other. 2 shorter people, 2 taller people, doesn't matter as long as they're about the same size. To start with, you get them both to wear a helmet, okay, pop these helmets on, and you give them both a foam noodle. And you say, look, the point of this first activity is just to watch the 2 of you beat each other with a foam noodle. Go. And then they just whack each other and go crazy and nuts, and it's all heaps of fun. Everyone cheers and claps, and it's all lots of fun. So they all whack each other and do all that stuff. Let it play out for as long as you feel you need to, and usually it'll only go for a minute or so, and then they're both exhausted and they've had enough, and it's all good. If anyone's being silly, like trying to push people or anything like that, it rarely happens. It's normally all good-natured. Obviously break it up, but generally they'll just all be fun. It's all good. Once you've had a couple of guys do it, get a couple of girls out and get them to do it. They have beat each other with the foam noodles. It's all fun and clapping and cheering, and it's all good. Okay, once you've done that, ask for 2 more volunteers. So 2 guys first, then 2 girls, or vice versa. Then get a couple of more volunteers. Either 2 more guys is usually the best. So get a couple of more guys out that want to have a go. They're going to do the same thing, but this time, both of the participants are going to be blindfolded. So you blindfold them first, and then you put the helmets on over the top. Then you give them the foam noodles. But before you do that, explain to them that this is going to be a competition. It's going to be the first person to 5 points is going to win. And you say to them, how you get a point is by getting a good clean hit on the other person. If they get too close and just thrash about, explain to them no points will be awarded while that's happening. It's only for clean hits that you get a point. Now what you'll generally find is that they just get all emotional. You know, they just go crazy and it's lots of energy and lots of trying hard. That's where the hard part comes in. So they just want, and no one's getting a point, and it's just a bit of a melee, and it's funny and it's all fun, but no points are being scored. And then you say to them, okay, look, stop. What you need to do is you need to be smart about this. You've got to outthink your opponent. Try and do things that they don't expect, and give them a bit of coaching on what to do. Now, the sort of scenarios that the students who do this really well do is they might get down really low. They'll crouch down on the ground and swing the noodle along the floor, so they'll get a point for hitting the other person in the legs. Or they'll start using the noodle as like a probe. They'll hold it out there, and when they feel something, they'll swing really quickly and hit that person. So this is the smart part. You've taken away their eyes, you've taken away their sort of sensory perception of what's going on, so now they've got to think more logically and more strategically. They've got to try different things, and just give them some ideas. If you notice that it gets to 4-0 really quickly, stop the battle and talk to the person that's on 0 and say to them, look, you know, the strategies you've tried so far haven't worked. You need to try something else, and encourage them to try something different. What people do when you take their vision away with the blindfold is they try the same thing over and over again, regardless of whether it works. And I often use the scenario of sort of beating your head against a brick wall. If you just keep banging against that brick wall, all that's going to happen is you get a sore head. You've got to try and go around the brick wall, or over the brick wall, or under the brick wall, or do something else. You've got to try another solution to the problem, because the one you're trying isn't working. Let that play out. Get a winner to 5 points, lots of clapping and cheering. At the end, ask the audience, why did this person win? What was different about their problem solving, the way they tackled, versus the other person? Get some answers, and explain that as leaders, you need to be able to problem solve, you need to be able to think about what's going on, and come up with creative solutions to what you're doing. Don't just try the same old thing, regardless of whether it works or not. Try new and different solutions. Claps and cheers and all these, and it's all good. Alright, the last activity is show initiative. Now, the reason we leave this one for the end is because it involves everybody. It gets everybody into it. You got the rubber ball, and I start by saying, everyone see this rubber ball here? This is the most intelligent rubber ball in history. This ball is capable of outsmarting 120 people, just like the people here today. Are you going to let this ball outsmart you? And people say, no, it's all good. Okay, so alright, what I'm going to do is I'm going to throw this ball into the crowd, and you're going to hit it into the air. Every time you hit the ball in the air, you get 1 point. And your goal is to get as many points as you can. Now, before you start the game, of course, you've got to explain what the word initiative means. And ask the audience, what does the word initiative mean? And now, sometimes they don't know. Often they don't know. Or they might have a bit of an idea, but not the full idea. You're trying to get them to the point where they say initiative is having an idea and then acting on that idea without anybody telling you to do it. And I often use a scenario where I drop some rubbish, and the first time I walk past it and I look down and I go, oh, there's some rubbish there. Someone should put that in the bin. And then I keep walking. And then I ask the audience, did I have initiative? And they'll say, no, you should have put it out. And then the second time I walk past the rubbish, I look down and go, oh, there's some rubbish there. Someone should put that in the bin. Ooh, I'm someone, I'll put it in the bin. And I pick it up and gesture to put it in the bin. So the idea is you explain to them that you want to have action without people telling you what to do. Leaders don't wait to be told, they show initiative. You throw the ball into the crowd, you yell out loud, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and keep going. Normally at the start, they'll get a pretty low score. They'll start with under 9, and they'll stick it under 9 for a little while. Ask them to, reward people. Some people will get up and move and those sorts of things. Say, look, that person moved. Who told you to move? Nobody. They're showing initiative. Initiative is the thing that's going to do well in this activity. As soon as you say that, people start moving. Everyone will get up. That's not initiative, I know, it's not the point, but they realise you're making the point. So they get up, they move, throw the ball in again, have a go. Eventually you might get to a point where if you're getting a bit stagnated, get them to set a goal. Say to them, how many do you think we could get? If they're only getting 8 or 7, say, how many do you reckon? Some will say 100. Of course, that's not realistic. But someone might say 15. You go, good, alright, let's try and get 15. and you'll find that the next shot, or 2 shots, and they'll get 15. Because they've set that goal, they get all focused on the activity, they're showing initiative, and it's all good. Play it for as long as it works out, and with 5 or so minutes to go, stop them. Especially if you set a goal of 15, then 20, and they get 20, that's a high note. Finish on the high note on the getting of 20 or the achieving of 15. Get everyone to sit down. Then go through all your activities again and just say, what was Seagull Management about? What was this about? What was that about? What was Seek about? What was Smart Not Hard about? What was Show Initiative about? And get them to try and repeat the key points back to you. Thank everyone, lots of claps, lots of cheers. Say thanks very much, and that's it. Presentation over.